I'm Ryan Newman, and since I started with Indiana Donor Network and Driven to Save Lives, I found out that some people think that they can't be an organ donor. The truth is, anyone can sign up to be an organ donor.
Anyone?
Anyone?
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Anyone can sign up to be an organ donor. So don't count yourself out because somebody's counting on you. Go to driventosavelives.org and sign up today.
But my heart's going to you, Ryan.
Love that shirt.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another night of iRacing action here on the National Racing Network. Tonight it will be the Stars and Cars of the iRacing Silver Crown Cup official series taking on Richmond Raceway. My name is Chris Graham, joined in the booth as always by the Bizzler, Mr. Patrick Byrne, and really looking forward to an exciting night of racing here tonight. Championship standings as we're down to just 3 races remaining in the season. Thomas Lewandowski holding a 185-point lead over Brandon Buckberger. James Watson, Josh Batista, and Derek Love complete the top 5 in the points standings. As we are just underway into the qualifying session, let's pick up Derek Love, who's making his way around to complete lap number 2 for D-Love, and it will be good enough for second quick, 20.125 seconds, but Brandon Buckberger has the number 4 machine, the Dienst Farms entry on the pole temporarily anyway, to 20.101. Let's pick up, River Hayes moving up into position number 2. Seeing who else we have here that's working their second laps. Vic Aldrich on his second qualification lap.
You know, looking at those point standings, I'm very surprised to see Derek Love so far down. And 5th is not far down at all, but usually he's in contention. I don't want to say he's out of contention, but usually he's like actively fighting for the top spot.
Yeah, it has been a season. Yeah, a little bit of a season of feast or famine for D-Love out here as we're following along with Thomas Lewandowski in car number 2. He has been an interesting case study in finish at the front or don't finish at all. He's had a very good season to this point, sitting 5th in points, 10 starts, 3 wins, 7 top 5s. But that's just not good enough when you're fighting against a guy like Thomas Lewandowski. Let's pick up the number 10 of Josh Batista rolling out onto pit lane.
Has Lewandowski finished outside of the top 2 once this season? I think he finished 3rd in one race.
Good question. As we will get the paint schemes updated here, that is definitely not the Red Ream Rocket, but you'll see that one here popping up momentarily. Lewandowski, 17 starts, 15 top 5 finishes with 9 poles on the season. He has led 697 of 1,299 laps completed. There's a good look at that number 20 Red Ream Rocket, by the way. Sign on, I'm not sure what he's talking about here. Well, I guess it helps if we pull the right graphics here, too.
Yeah, we have text coming up on NRN.
Yeah, I'm seeing that. Josh Batista, by the way, moving up into the 5th position, 1/10 of a second back, about 90 seconds left in the qualifying session, and only one car left to take time. That will be Carlos Fonseca in the number 7. He will clear out, and we may go ready to race here pretty darn quickly. Set 1 lap at a 21.442, but it did not score officially, so lap number 2 will not score for Fonseca either, just with the way you have to take the reset once you make contact with the wall. So that will round up qualifications here for tonight's race. Here we go. Okay, now we can show the comment. Silver Crowns in London? What is this? Another river city? I do like the joke, though. Richmond is a place in London, England. I get that. I wasn't sure where the, I guess making a, okay. See, if you have to explain the joke in multiple comments, I guess it doesn't stick. London is on the River Thames, and Richmond, Virginia is also called the River City. See, I didn't know Richmond was called the River City. But with qualifications wrapped up here, we will be able to show you a starting grid here pretty darn quickly. But yeah, go ahead there, Bizzle.
Are there even rivers in Richmond? I guess there must be.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I was just through Richmond not that long ago, and I don't really remember one off the top of my head, but just because there's a lot of things I don't remember.
You don't remember the second half of the Daytona 24? Neither do I, really. I don't remember that, like, the middle section.
Yes, that is correct.
Possibly the middle 20 hours I missed out on.
Yeah, you were well lubricated, that's for sure. All right.
Absolutely.
Cars are getting out onto the starting grid. Let's take a look at your starting lineup for tonight's Silver Crown Cup race. Braden Buckberger hoping to put another $50 in the till for Driven to Save Lives. That donation will come up live during our final race of the season. Coming up here from the Pocono Raceway in a couple of weeks, he will be on the pole with a lap time of 20.101. Starting on the outside of the front row, in the McConey Setup Shop, number 81, it is River Hayes. That car will be the number 3 in your timing and scoring pylons. Also, Smith's Race Development on the side of that number 81 machine. Row number 2 tonight, we'll have the Street Side Classics, number 1 of Derek Love, lining up alongside of the number 12, Elaine Doyle, out of the Republic of Texas. Good looking paint scheme on that one. Love the kind of throwback-ish mobile helmet there that Doyle is running as well. Row number 3 will have the Red Ream Rocket of Josh Batista. Again, we're still only a tenth of a second back of the pole time, and we're on the third row of the starting grid. To his outside, the Team Watson Racing Setups National Racing Network, Martin Sports, number 6 of New York's Thomas Lewandowski. Row 4 tonight, we'll have the Betson, number 8 of Manuel Paredes, lining up alongside of the Napa Auto Parts, Rockwell, North Carolina, number 94 of Jeffrey Stanton. Stanton's machine will be the 6 in your timing and scoring windows. Germany's Laura Gerhardt in the Kibu, number 11, lining up to the inside of James Watson. The car is the 39 on the paint scheme, the 5 on the timing tower. That one entry sponsored by Team Watson Racing Setups, National Racing Network, and Martin Sports. Row number 6, Brian Elmore lining up alongside of the TNT Racing, number 14 of Todd Taylor. Row 7 on tonight's grid, we'll have the Dizzy V Designs, number 98. Team Watson Racing Setups also on the side of that one for Vic Aldrich. Carlos Fonseca out of the great state of Indiana will pilot the number 7 Texaco Haviland entry. 14 cars will make up your starting grid here this evening. And I'll tell you what, Bizzle, it's actually a 28-car entry list. We are 29, I guess 28, whatever it was. Field splits at 26. We've really got a pretty good show that I think we're going to see out of this one tonight. An SOF of 4,095? Oh, my goodness.
Man. It constantly is a battle back and forth between the IP2K guys and these guys. Who's going to get the higher strength of field for the week? So IP2K's got to beat 4,000.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, when you're talking the NASCAR side of things, no, it's not a top split race. It's some of the Formula Car stuff. But outside of those two classes, this is about as high of an SOF as you're going to see over the course of the week. As the green flag goes in the air, Buckberger going to lead the field off into turn number 1. And it will be, well, maybe about a half car length advantage as they got to the corner. River Hayes tries to duck down in front of Derek Love. Oh, baby, that's tight off the 2.
Buckberger out to a huge lead here on the first lap.
Yeah, puts a couple car lengths between himself and River Hayes. Slide back a little bit here in the field, and I think we've got Manuel Paredes looking to the inside of Lane Doyle. This one an 80 lapper here, Bizzle, and quite frankly, this is the kind of place that can chew up tires in a hurry if you're not careful about it. Almost like you kind of have to settle in a little bit here and let this race develop.
Yeah, Richmond is such a difficult track. It almost identical to Iowa and how it drives and the size of it. Not so much how it drives, but just the size and layout of it. But Richmond is so much slicker than Iowa. There's maybe a tenth of the grip here as there is over there. So even though the speeds are about the same, you drive it very similar, you just can't use as much of the racetrack here.
Yeah, which was interesting because we were talking with Jeffrey Stanton, some of the drivers in the pre-race, and Stanton saying in the next-gen car, you can rip the lip around this place. That's not really the case in the sprint car. You're going to have to keep this thing kind of around the bottom. Otherwise, potentially end up here like James Watson. You might lose 3 or 4 spots with one little mistake anywhere in the corner.
See, I don't think this track has ever been a rip the lip kind of track. Iowa definitely. Iowa's one where the stock cars, they seem to find their groove all the way up against that wall on the outside, but Richmond has always been a bottom line track. So that's interesting to hear. Oh, what about contact for Watson?
Wow,
Gerard
getting
getting sideways. Or excuse me, that was Elmore.
Yeah, Brian Elmore sideways, and I think he made contact with the inside wall. He did. Big contact with the inside wall for the car of Brian Elmore. Let's take a look at it on the NRN replay. It started with the contact between Taylor and Watson. Oh, man. Just a little bit of contact. But that's going to put Elmore at the back of the pack, about 7 seconds back of your race leaders. Brandon Buckberger at the front of the field. He's holding almost half a second on River Hayes. Hayes is going to have to contend with Derek Love a little bit further back. Josh Batista has the 2 with Thomas Lewandowski getting up under that tail tank as we see Jeffrey Stanton slide high to block the lane off of Lane Doyle. Watson and Taylor are continuing their fisticuffs back here. Pick this one up. Watson able to clear. We do have a good look at the 7, by the way, of Carlos Fonseca on this one. Let's pick up the comment here. I actually like this. The comment from Sidon's a good one. A Davey Allison / Dominic Dobson throwback. Yeah, gosh, that goes back to the mid-'80s. With Dominic Dobson running the Texaco Haviland colors, but
those are my favorite schemes ever. I have all of the Yates diecasts of every driver that's driven it except Davey Allison. Davey Allison diecasts are just obnoxiously expensive.
So getting all the comments up here, at least as many of them as we can. Yeah, 1989. There you go. Thank you, Simon. If you're doing that off the top of your head, it's impressive.
That's why I have 2 monitors, so it can sound like I know what I'm talking about, but really I've got Google on the main one.
That is exactly right. It's not how smart you are, it's how quickly you can acquire information.
That is damn right.
So River Hayes able to open up the gap ever so slightly here on Derek Love towards the front of the field as we are down to 67 laps remaining. Go on board here with Derek Love on the Exorcist cam. Got a good look at River Hayes and Brandon Buckberger just up ahead. That's going to be second and first, respectively. Swing things back around here, and you pick up the battle going on just back behind Love. That's Josh Batista and Thomas Lewandowski. Sign on, I will reply to your 2 monitors thing with a look at the World Broadcast headquarters setup here and the 8 screens that we're currently working on.
That was so much fun the last time I was over there. We put all of your monitors out and then played Flight Simulator on an Xbox controller. I should have brought my yoke over. We could have had so much fun with that.
Yeah, there's a lot of screen real estate going on here at the global broadcast headquarters, but interesting to see how Derek Love is closing in on River Hayes. You hear the off throttle, and it seems like he's carrying just the slightest bit more speed into the corner. I would tend to think, though, that's going to put a little bit more stress on the right front tire. Maybe not the worst thing if you're relying on the back of the car getting heavy and kind of helping you turn late in the race.
Yeah, Richmond is a track that, at least for the Cup cars, is notorious for getting super, super loose towards the end of the run. So yeah, early on, I'm not sure I'd be all that worried about burning the right front off the thing. Burn the right front off, leave as much right rear grip as you can possibly get, because you can always make the car looser, especially at Richmond. It's very hard to fix a loose race car. On the flip side, if you get that car too tight, you burn too much off the right front, it's even harder to recover from a car that's just pushing and doesn't want to turn the corners.
Well, and then you end up with the snap oversteer that goes along with it as well. You're kind of, I don't want to say damned if you do, damned if you don't, but it is definitely a pace racetrack where you kind of have to find your pace and run it and not worry about what everybody else is doing.
It's very much a balancing act. You're almost like a pendulum of, hey, the car's getting a little loose, let's dial it back, turn the wheel a little bit more, try and burn the right front off a little bit. Okay, the car is pushing, let me get on the power a little later, try and slide the rear end out a little bit, wear the right rear a little more. And you're constantly going back and forth between this thing is too tight, too loose. But you let it go too far to either end, and your race is over.
Well, these cars also have the weight jacker that they can play with as well. Now, I know that's a little bit more comes into play on the kind of 1.5 miles and up. But that's definitely, you can work the tools here, even if you had to from each end of the racetrack back and forth.
Yeah, and that's one thing I used to play with is I would use the paddles on my wheel. And at certain tracks, like Darlington especially, Dover a little bit, is depending on the end of the racetrack, I would change the weight jacker, and sometimes I would change it 2 clicks between the beginning of the corner and the exit of the corner. Where like on turn in, I'd want the car to pitch in, get a little bit looser, and then on the corner exit, I don't want it to get loose. I want it to point straight off the corner, so I'd tighten the car up real quick on the exit.
Yeah, that was when you guys taught me that trick with the paddles in the Silver Crown, because it's a direct drive car, so you don't shift it anymore. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. If you want the car to get a little loose, you grab the left paddle. Oh, baby, talk about loose. Derek Love sideways off of 2 that time.
Yeah, I sounded like I should be institutionalized when I drove these things, because I would count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then on the exit of the corner, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then go in the other direction, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. For an hour long, however long these races are, just sitting there counting to myself.
Now, you're not missing anything throughout the field here. This is the best battle on the racetrack right now. Derek Love, Thomas Lewandowski, Josh Batista, all separated by 1/3 of a second or less. Everybody else is going to be a 1/2 second or more separating these race cars, as we have 53 laps remaining with 27 complete, 28 up on the scoreboard. We're really going to have to keep an eye on the lap averages, because the longer this green flag run goes, you'll be able to see kind of the comers and goers of who's making time, who's losing time. Right now, River Hayes is 2 1/1000ths of a second faster per lap over the 15-lap average than race leader Brandon Buchberger. They're basically running almost identical lap times. The car that's really making a move right now is Thomas Lewandowski. He's down in the 47s for the 15-lap average. Derek Love is at a 20.54. Maybe the handling's starting to go away on D-Love's car a little bit, and we saw that with the big loose episode off of turn 2 there.
Yeah, Derek Love might have been anticipating the car to get overly tight, though, and kind of built the car to be loose at the beginning of the run. We might see him come alive towards the end of this race.
Well, he's talked about that in the interviews before, that he prefers to build a long-run setup. He wants the car feeling its best in those last handful of laps. Sometimes it's a matter of just you have to do enough to keep a guy like Thomas Lewandowski behind you, and quite frankly, know the gap to the race leader as well. If you know you're sitting at about 1.3, 1.5 seconds back, so long as you maintain that gap, you know you're doing something all right if you think the car is going to come alive late in the race.
Yeah, and building a long-run car is a good strategy here for the Silver Crowns because, as you see, we haven't had a caution yet in this race. These races usually go flag to flag, if not maybe one caution, either early or late. Other than that, it's clean and green the whole way through.
Rapidly approaching the halfway point here in this one. And after tonight, we've only got 2 more races left in the season. Next week, we pay a visit to the Kentucky Speedway, and then we follow it up with a visit to our home track, well, at least my home track now, the Pocono Raceway, round number 12.
In terms of ovals, I'm pretty sure Pocono still might be the closest to me. It might be a battle between Pocono and Michigan. I've got the Google machine here. I guess I could look it up.
Yeah, well, gosh, Indianapolis is probably up there too.
Pocono, I think, is a 5-hour drive. Indy, again, is a 5-hour drive. Let's see how far Michigan is.
DJ's checking in saying that's what's on his second monitor. Yes. Not only do we have color commentators, but we also have roommates of color commentators checking in.
Yeah, we have backseat commentators.
Yeah, yes, that's exactly right. So keeping an eye on the numbers, right now the fastest car on the racetrack is Jeffrey Stanton in position number 6. He is slowly catching Josh Batista in the 5th position. Outside of that, it is Brandon Buckberger at the head of the field. If Buckberger built a long-run car in that Dietz Farms machine, it could be a very, very long night for these guys. Let's pick up the number 1 as he's got River Hayes about, call it 3 car lengths at the start-finish line. That Dietz Farms number 4 machine, pretty cool thing he's doing this season, making a donation to Driven to Save Lives, the foundation set up in memory of Justin Wilson and Brian Clausen, part of the Indiana Donor Network, encouraging awareness of organ and tissue donations. $50 for every race win, $10 for every runner-up finish, $5 for a third-place finish. Brandon was talking about hoping to get $25 over the last 3 races so he could get up to or slightly over the $100 number for the season. Tonight would be a second win and an even $100 on that one, plus the podiums from throughout the season. And we'll be talking to Brandon in a couple of weeks here as he does the donation at the conclusion of the Pocono race. We're looking forward to that one, seeing how much he can put into the till for Driven to Save Lives. Buckberger now holding about a half-second lead over River Hayes. Hayes was able to close the gap, but now it opens right back up again. And they are slowly starting to catch lap traffic. Oh my goodness. I don't know if I want to put this comment up, but Joe Barker is checking in saying he's Patrick's number 1 fan.
Yeah, I'd believe it.
I didn't realize Bizzle had any fans.
Bizzle has lots of fans. They just only check in once in a while, I guess. I'm surprised we haven't seen Wookie. I've got to text him, Cody, see what he's doing.
You have OnlyFans.
Yeah, I've got OnlyFans.
So race leaders. Go ahead.
I am equidistant within 10 minutes between Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the Pocono Raceway. But Michigan is an easy win. I'm only 3 hours from Pocono, or from Michigan. I didn't think I was that close to it.
Yeah, you know what? We can't even claim this about the NRN booth, though. Only Bizzle sign-on says in the comments. James Watson would get a little bit upset if we said our only color commentator was Bizzle. By the way, James did a fantastic job with me yesterday calling the Spec Corvette race from Sebring. Oh my God, what a race those guys put on. In fact, both races, the Saturday and the Sunday shows, check them out. They're on the YouTube channel. Fantastic real-world racing out of the Spec Corvette series. That was so much fun to call. Let's pick up the race leader as he's working his way through lap traffic. It'll be 33 laps to go this time by the start-finish line.
You know, I just want to call out our backseat commentator here. I hear him in the background Googling, what is a color commentator?
There's a joke that I make that could be made there that I'm just staying away from.
Oh, we're coming around to about 30 laps remaining here.
yes, 32 to go. They provide the color. They're the entertainment. I am the knowledge and facts. Well, at least of what's going on right in front of me, anyway. As Brandon Buckberger is going to tick lap number 50 up onto the scoreboard. Next car to go a lap down will be 10th place running Laura Gerhardt. And it's about 3 seconds further up the road to Carlos Fonseca in position number 9. Dynamo's checking in saying someone who really loves colors. He's not quite a Marine, but he is our Bizzle. Oh, battle for third starting to heat up here. Thomas Lewandowski looking inside of Derek Love at the start-finish line. They'll battle side by side off at 2. Oh, that's tight! And D-Love has to back out of it. A little bit of a Pruitt fade down the backstretch by Lewandowski. He's going to get up the final podium position.
Does Lewandowski have enough in it to close the gap? I mean, he's almost 3 seconds back now and losing time over Brandon Buckberger.
Well, yeah, sort of. He's got the gap down to 2.3 seconds to River Hayes in the second position. And from there, it's only 0.3 to the race leader. Big call out here, though, and I just saw it. I'm clicking on it right as I see the comment coming in. Sinan's checking in saying that blue 94 car is coming. Yeah, Jeffrey Stanton is putting down some heaters right now. The 5-lap average, about a 10th faster than what Brandon Buckberger and everybody else inside the front of the field is running. Of note, Derek Love, everybody's at about a 20.66 or so. Jeffrey Stanton's at a 20.6 flat. Derek Love, a 20.81 for his 5-lap average. Although I'll tell you what, both of these guys now starting to catch back in on Lewandowski ever so slightly. That'll be third, fourth, and fifth coming up on Laura Gerhardt. Battle for the race lead sitting at about a third of a second. Slide back here. Pick up Manuel Paredes and Carlos Fonseca. They're the next cars that are going to go a lap down, and they're battling for position. This is where things get tricky for the leaders, Bizzle, because they have every right to fight for their position and run their race the way they want to. You don't have to get out of the way here, and if you're the race leaders, that's how you get yourself into trouble trying to force the issue lapping a car.
Yeah, on one hand, you're faster. You're lapping them for a reason. You're trying to get by. On the other hand, they don't have to let you by. They don't have to make things easy for you. So with only 20 laps remaining now and River Hayes only 0.3 of a second back, I would say you have to force the issue a little bit, but don't get yourself into trouble.
Seeing the comment checking in saying, Joe wanted to know what the cars are. These are the, 2006 to 2008 spec USAC Silver Crown cars. They only ran them for 3 seasons because they're god-awful ugly and, quite frankly, handled like crap and were practically death traps. They were built to run the 1.5-mile NASCAR tracks. And they
are some of the most badass race cars, though. Up front there, you have a 358 cubic inch V8, makes 850 horsepower, direct drive all the way to the rear axle, rear-wheel drive. You can't get simpler than that. They got a big 33-gallon fuel tank hanging off the back there. That's where those numbers are painted on the back of the car. Basically, if you handed a redneck a fuel tank, an engine, some wheels, an axle, and a steering wheel, this is what he would build.
Yeah, but it's akin to the real world Silver Crown car. The main frame of the car is actually fairly similar, other than the fact that the real world Silver Crown car is an offset car, so it's designed to only turn left. These cars were built symmetrical, meaning they can do road courses, and in fact I think did run one road course race up at Watkins Glen. When we run them on the iRacing platform, they are incredible to watch on the road courses.
Seeing the comment from Sign on it, this is exactly the point I was going to make. If IndyCars never became rear engine, they might not be far off from these. Yeah, these are basically what IndyCar was in the 60s. If they never grew wings, never went to the rear engine, just basically stuck with development all the way through. They'd have that little aerodynamic nose, the little winglets over the rear tire, and that would pretty much be it.
TJ saying, I feel like having the fuel tank off the rear makes it a prime candidate for Ford Pinto issues.
That's why you'll see the roll cage extends around that fuel tank in the rear.
That is exactly right. The roll cage extends around the rear. Plus, it's not just a tank. It's a bladder inside of a tank, and then they fill the bladder with foam. So it keeps the fuel from sloshing around. It's actually a relatively safe car. However, back one of these things into the wall at Darlington at 160 mile an hour, you're going to tear the fuel tank off. And quite frankly, that's why they only ran these cars for a couple of seasons. However, the modern day real world Silver Crown car, take the side pods off, take the ugly bolt-on Kardashian, the bolt-on attachments at the front, take them off, you basically have a modern day Silver Crown car. And they are the most diverse drivers on the planet. They run everything from dirt miles, flat paved miles, short tracks, on both asphalt and dirt, you name it, the Silver Crowns run on it, and it is the top tier of, I will say, grassroots style racing here in the United States, at least of the open wheel variety.
I wish we can get a word in with Manuel Paredes. Didn't he run these cars in the real world?
No, Manuel did not.
Who am I thinking of? Because I know there's a guy who pops in here once in a while who ran him in the real world.
Yeah, I say I am jumping on the Google box here as quickly as possible. Oh my goodness!
Look up some of the entry lists.
Pablo Donoso.
Oh.
Pablo Donoso.
Yes.
That's who it was.
I would also like to say, if you look up Speedway Silver Crowns on the Google machine, we are the second and third entry on the front page of Google.
That is exactly right. How about the battle for the race lead getting real good here? Buckberger trying to make that inside lane work. River Hayes getting it hooked up top as we are inside of 10 to go here at Richmond. Buckberger bringing the fight right back to Hayes, though.
Hayes is a master of the outside.
So tight.
He's going to have the run for turn 4. One thing to note here, too, is I say it every time we come to Richmond, but that start-finish line is not in the center. It's like the reverse of Talladega. Right out of turn 4 is that start-finish. So if he can hold that momentum again around the outside and just edge out Brandon Buckberger, I think it's going to be a win here for River Hayes, but 8 to go, Buckberger's going to have to fight back.
Yeah, he's going to have to clear Hayes rather quickly here as we are down to 7 to go. And they are coming up on lap traffic. Where the lap car chooses to go may decide who wins this race. If the lap car goes kind of middle lane where River Hayes has been running, could present an issue. But Buckberger may have to dial a whole bunch of loose into that race car if he wants to get caught back up to Hayes. The gap is already up over a quarter of a second. We'll call it 2.5 car lengths off turn 4.
I mean, Buckberger is second in points. The smart thing would do would just be sit back here, finish second, you're ahead of Lewandowski, and just be happy with it. But at the same time, he wants to get those wins. Donating a bunch of money for a really great cause, if he gets the win tonight, that's another $50. So I say dial as much loose as you can into it, get as much speed out of that car as possible, and try and get past River.
Yeah, I think that's... And this could be just cooling the tires down as well. That's a big part of this. Get the tires back to being cool, and River Hayes may have a tough time passing the car of Manuel Paredes. That could open the door for Buckberger.
Not a tough time at all. Manuel gets up to the high side, slams on the brakes, let them both by. If you're not fighting another car, that's the nice thing to do. That's, I guess, the honorable sportsman thing to do is just let them by, let the leaders race.
Yeah, there's nothing to gain there. Actually, the iRacing spotter comes on and says, the leader is coming, or not our fight. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's trying to tell people to get out of the way. If I'm battling with somebody, though, man, good luck, man.
If there's 40 laps to go and I want to stand the lead lap, I will fight the leader. Any other time, no thanks.
That's exactly right. Off of turn number 2, though, white flag is out. One circuit remaining here at Richmond. And it's going to have to be a big send for Brandon Buckberger. Not going to happen. Quid checkers in the air, and River Hayes picks up the win at Richmond. Brandon Buckberger comes home second. Thomas Lewandowski holds on for the final spot on the podium here this evening. River Hayes doing a nice job parking that car right down on the start-finish line for us, and that will give us a chance to take a look at our race results. 80 laps clean and green. Took 27.5 minutes to complete. River Hayes gets the win by a quarter of a second over Brandon Buckberger. Thomas Lewandowski holds on for third. Derek Love and Jeffrey Stanton complete the top 5. 6 through 10 tonight, Josh Batista, Lane Doyle, Carlos Fonseca. The final car in the lead lap in the 8th position, Manuel Paredes and Laura Gerhardt, both finishing 1 lap down in 9th and 10th, respectively. Second page of the leaderboard has James Watson in 11th, 1 lap down. Todd Taylor and Vic Aldrich also 1 lap down, 12th and 13th. Brian Elmore, the victim of that early contact, he finishes 60 laps behind the race winner. So we'll get ready for our Victory Lane interviews here, and we will bring up first Mr. Thomas Lewandowski, our third place finisher here tonight. And Thomas, I'll tell you what, kind of an interesting show here. Richmond, you might expect to go clean and green, but there was a lot of hard-fought battles that were going on, especially the fight with you and Derek got pretty intense there with about 15 to go.
Yeah, Richmond is always it's a weird place because just how it races, everyone's really, really close in times, and I just had to wait for a opening, because I thought it was quicker than Derek there, but you almost have to just wait for a mistake because you can't really pull under someone, on the either straightaway really, with how you're just so on the edge. So luckily I kind of got a chance there with the lap car and got underneath them, and I just kind of made him. I don't want to overdrive the bottom there, so I just took my time and make sure, I could clear him there and then hold on.
Yeah, and then at that point, you open the gap up and things sort of started to settle down a little bit. How was the car over the long run? Because it seemed like, at least in terms of the lap averages and stuff, the whole field was really close. It wasn't just qualifying. It was the entire race you guys were tight on pace.
Oh, yeah. That's, I was maybe a tick faster than River and Brandon at the end there, but I mean, talking like less than like a half a tenth, maybe like depending on the lap, or I'd break even. So I knew I needed a caution to catch up to those guys at the end, but I didn't think we were going to get one. So, you take third, I didn't qualify very well, and sometimes that's all you can get.
Yeah, well, it's funny that you say that the way you did, because your 5-lap average was a 7:38. It was a 7:80 to Buckberger and a 7:64 to River. So about half a tenth is about on the screws. Thomas, congratulations on another podium finish and what looks like a championship run here. But before we let you go, do all those sponsor plugs and shout-outs that we got to get in here.
I just like, thank you guys, as always, and everyone over to Drell, Larry, Bob, John, Craig. So, and that's it. Thanks again, guys. You guys do a great job, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you much. We appreciate you coming to check in with us here. And now we're going to get ready to talk to our runner-up finisher tonight, Mr. Brandon Buckberger. And I tell you what, buddy, you had a nice race. You led 69 laps of this one, ultimately coming up about 11 short, though, here at the finish. Is there anything you could have done with River there late? It seemed like he got the outside lane working, and your car was kind of more set up to be low line.
Yeah, he's running the middle pretty well, and me, I'm a bottom feeder. I just was probably looking in the mirror a little bit too much, but good run. I can't complain, man. One of my buddies was like, "How's the car tonight?" I'm like, "I don't know, probably mid-pack and qualified on pole," which I never do, and it's a good run, so I'm happy with it.
Yeah, and quite frankly, I was a little bit surprised. You were pulling a gap on everybody early on. Did you worry at all about tire wear possibly hurting you late in this one? Or, I mean, the track depth was only 78 at the finish, so I would imagine it wasn't too hot, slick, greasy, and wearing those tires out.
I thought about it. I mean, I still had 92% right front at the end looking at this, but I thought I was saving tires for about the first 60 laps. Maybe I just was trying to go too hard those last 20 and just, was putting the throttle down too early and getting some wheel spin off the corner. Maybe that was probably part of it, but Rivers one of them short track guys. He's really good at here, just kind of like what Larry is at those big tracks. You get these ringers that come in, they don't run every week, and you're going to have to compete with them.
Well, I tell you what, like we said, very nice run for you tonight, putting another $10 in the till for Driven to Save Lives. Looking forward to that donation coming up here at Pocono in a couple of weeks. But Brandon, congratulations once again on the podium, and do those sponsor plugs and shout outs before we let you go.
And I'd like to thank the boys at Dienst Farm and HE Rockers, so Nate, Bob, Madison, Swayze, Kendall. I don't know if Morgan Walmart was watching it tonight. I'm sure there's other people. I'm sure I'm going to get a text as soon as I get off of here. So just want to thank all them for watching every week and wishing me luck.
Well, I tell you what, it's pretty cool having these guys all hanging out with us and lighting up the comments for you, brother. We appreciate it. And congratulations once again on the second place finish. And one more Victory Lane interview to do before we close out the night, and it will be your race winner, River Hayes. River, congratulations. Were you doing a lot of tire saving throughout the race? Because it seemed like with about 10 or 12 to go, you really came alive on that middle lane, and Brandon just had nothing he could do to fight back.
Well, first off, how's it going, boys? Haven't talked to y'all in a good bit. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't saving too much. I was just trying to hang with Brandon. I had a really tight setup throughout the first half of the race. I could tell with dirty air, I was pushing pretty bad. So I was just hanging around slowly throughout the race, which Brandon was super smooth the entire first run. And, I was thinking that he wasn't going to fall off like I expected him to. But I knew since he was taking it easy into one that he was a little bit looser than he would like to be. Because I was making up time. That's where I was making up time on him, was just being able to drive into one so much deeper than him. Towards about lap 60 or so, I could tell he was starting to slide the tires pretty bad. And honestly, I was impressed with him not sliding more on the front stretch than I was, because even I had a tight set. So honestly, it was a really good drive. Once I caught him, I didn't really expect him to cross me over, but once he did, I figured I would have him because I was tighter on the top and I felt more comfortable running on the top anyways, which could have been a mistake on his part, but overall I feel like I did pretty good, and Brandon's really freaking good at this stuff, so I'm just happy I can come back and win one of these. It's been a long time since I've gotten behind the wheel and been competitive, so I'm just happy.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, we were just talking with Brandon. He says, you have Rivers, the short track guy, and he comes in and is crazy fast. And you have Larry Pace, who comes and runs the speedways. Next week, we head off to Kentucky Speedway. I would imagine that's probably a little bit too big of a track that I don't think we'll see you next week.
It's possible. It's possible. Me and TWRS are working on a few things to see if we can't collaborate on some sets for the short tracks going forward. Me and James are good friends. We've been friends for a couple years, and I got on the sim today and I started working on it. Unfortunately, James didn't have that good of a run tonight. He doesn't like this track very much, but he's saying that we have a pretty good package for the big tracks. I'll take a look at it and see where it goes, and you might see me, you might not. I don't know.
Well, there you go. We're going to have to get your scheme updated then. Get those TWRS neon colors all over that thing. But, River, congratulations on the race win here, brother. And before we let you go, do all the sponsor plugs and shout-outs that you want to get in here.
Yeah, I got Smith's Race Development, Russell Despain with Despain Designs on the car, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the new paint. I was hoping to have it done before tonight, but it didn't wind up happening. So we'll get it on there in the future, and it was good talking to you guys.
Well, River, thank you very much, and nice talking to you too as well. We appreciate you coming to hang out with us here up in the booth. And Bizzle, we're going to go back to the live look here around Richmond Raceway, and I tell you what, this is kind of what we expected here tonight. 80 laps clean and green, the guys doing their thing, and it's one of those tracks where everybody kind of ends up where they belong on raw pace.
Yeah, that was the textbook Silver Crown race. Nobody crashed into each other. There was a little bit of contact early on when the field was packed together, and towards the end, the fastest guys are way out the front. The slowest guys were holding up the fast guys, and we had not a last lap pass, but Buckberger led 69 out of the 80 laps before Hayes got by him, so towards the end of the race, the long-run cars won it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And quite frankly, I think we may see more of that tomorrow night because the Sprint Car Cup will make their round at number 10 here. Like we said, tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that race will go live. Follow it up with the TNT Shock Series at Southern National Raceway Park. That race is going to be absolutely insane. Tight little bull ring on open-wheeled basically baby formula cars for some of our newer viewers. Really, really cool series, and quite frankly, great racing out of the Shock Series. That race will come on the air, I believe it's either 9:45 or 10 o'clock. We'll make sure all of the YouTube links are updated there for you. Wednesday night, we are off. It's Valentine's Day. I am not doing bottom split racing. I will be spending time with my wife. Y'all can deal with it. Thursday, Indy Pro 2000, 10 p.m., Long Beach. Again, the USF Pro cars, the PM18s that the TNT Shock Series runs, whipping those cars around Long Beach. That one's going to be a fun show. That race will go live at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Coming up this weekend, have to see when, depending on schedules, we have the Spec Corvette Series from Chuckwalla Valley Raceway coming up. The West Region cars will make their 2024 debut here on NRN. There is also a possibility that I will be running a fixed Daytona 500 at noon on Saturday and possibly the 9 p.m. time slot Friday night. I may do the open Daytona 500, so we'll see.
Ooh, I could spot for you for that one.
That one might be a fun stream to put up here because it's going to be pretty darn bottom split, that's for sure. But like we said, whole lot of action coming up this weekend. 3:30 p.m. Saturday and Sunday, by the way, both days for the Spec Corvette Series from Chuckwalla Valley Raceway. But with that, we got to get out of here and get some rest. We got a long week ahead of us. For Bizzle and everybody else here at the National Racing Network that gets these shows on the air, my name is Chris Graham. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with us, and we will talk to you all tomorrow night for a big old doubleheader. Until then, have a great night, everybody.